Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of Scott's Selections here for Friday, February 28th. Before we get into today's play of the day, quick recap of what happened yesterday. We ended up losing on the under 140.5 between St. Mary's and Santa Clara. Game was pretty close to going under. You ended up having a massive explosion in the first 10 minutes of the second half, and the game ended up going over. However, we did also have 3 plays on the Winners and Whiners video. So overall, we lost on St. Mary's under 140.5. We lost on the Warriors plus 12.5. The Warriors one was a joke. LeBron didn't play. The Warriors were down 2 going into the break, and they got outscored by 28 points in the second half. I don't get how do you get outscored 40-17 when LeBron's not even playing? I don't know, but either or, needless to say, that's why I don't bet on bad teams in the NBA, because the disparity from teams that are just awful compared to teams, even without LeBron, the Lakers are still a decent team with Anthony Davis alone. But, I mean, the Warriors at home get outscored by 28 in the second. That's just a joke. But we were able to win with Gonzaga minus 25.5, and we were also able to win with Pacific minus 1.5. So yesterday we went 2-2 for negative 0.05 units. So basically went even, but either or, we'll look for a better day today, but Scott Steen did come back for today's Winners and Whiners video, so I'm only going to be doing 1 play today, but I will be going back to Winners and Whiners tomorrow to finish up, and then I'll do the same thing as I've been doing the last 2 days. I'll make 1 video and 1 play for Saturday, and I'll give out 3 plays on the other video for Winners and Whiners. So keep that in mind for the schedule. But for today's play of the day on Friday, February 28th, is going to be on a matchup between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Orlando Magic, and I feel like all of you should know where I'm going, because it's yet to fail us so far. It will be on the over 232.5 between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Orlando Magic, and that one is available at minus 110 on FanDuel. Now, at first glance, there has been a decent amount of money to the under in this spot, so if you do want to take the day off from it, you can. But for me, until Minnesota actually goes under opposed to total, I have to bet them. They've gone over in 7 of their last 8 games. Minnesota's broken 240 in 7 of their last 8 games, and each of their last 2 games have broken at least 250, so I can't really go against them. Meanwhile, Orlando just scored 130 points in their last game against Atlanta. Their last game ended up reaching 250. I think this game should get into the 240s once again. Is it possible this game goes under? Yes, but based on how Minnesota likes to play an up-tempo style and how they play no defense, I have to assume that they'll dictate pace. There is a stat, though, that ever since Minnesota traded Andrew Wiggins, they rank number 1 in the NBA in pace. So that is something to keep in mind. This team loves to go up and down the court, and in case you were wondering just how fast they are actually playing, they are number 1 in the NBA in pace ever since they traded away Andrew Wiggins. Plus, Towns can operate now in isolation spots, which eat up some clock because of the fact that he's not in the lineup because he's still dealing with a broken wrist. Minnesota's lineup still consists of Reed at the center who can shoot, Hernangomez who can shoot, Okogie who could shoot, Beasley who could shoot, and Russell who could shoot. And defensively, they're all absolute disasters. Reed's an okay rim protector, not great, but at the same point, this defense is terrible. And Orlando, even though Fultz isn't the greatest offensive player, he's okay. Fournier can shoot, Ennis is okay, Gordon's pretty solid, and Vucevic is pretty solid as well. I just think that the pace alone should lead to a lot of points. I think both teams have the opportunity to get into the 120s, and for that reason, I think that this total is too low. I think this line might continue to drop, but until Minnesota betrays me, I have to back it, and I think you can understand what I'm talking about from that angle. There were a couple of other thoughts that I had on today's card. I was looking into potentially taking the Trae Young over in points against the Nets. However, unfortunately, most books do not have that line up for some reason. I'm a little bit confused as to why, because there hasn't been any injury reports news with regard to Trae Young. But Young against the Nets this season in 2 meetings that he's played in is averaging, I believe he's averaging 43 points per game. Through 2 meetings against the Nets. As a Nets fan, I've seen both games. They can't guard him. Averaging 43 is insane. I would take the over in the player props, over in the alternative player props. I think you should go for at least 35 tonight. And the Nets did try to deploy a box and 1 on Bradley Beal in their last game, and they ended up losing, and Beal still dropped 30. So whatever the Nets tried clearly didn't work. I think Young should have a very solid game in front of the home crowd. So I'll lean to the player prop over on Trae Young. Other than that, I'm going to lean to Toronto minus 14. Charlotte, even though they have been better than people have anticipated this season, still 18 games under, still really not good, and they're also dealing with some injuries right now and some suspensions to Malik Monk, who tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs, and he will be out for pretty much the rest of the year. But he has been averaging over 10 points per game, so he has actually been a decent contributor off the bench. He's not available. Meanwhile, Toronto, they're coming in off a loss to Milwaukee, so they should be very motivated. Toronto's won the first two meetings this season. Only one of those meetings came at home, and Toronto won that meeting at home by 36 points. So Toronto knows what it takes to actually take care of business. Charlotte, on their last road game, lost to Indiana by 39. Not exactly in great form. They beat the Knicks, but congratulations, the Knicks are terrible. Meanwhile, Toronto, they beat the Suns by 17. They beat the Pacers by 46. And they lost to the Bucks by 11. I think they'll be very motivated to put in a good performance here. I think Toronto should win by 20. Lean to the Raptors on that one. Other than that, what else do I like? I'm going to lean to Dallas plus the 4 against Miami. I know Miami's been really good at home this season, but they've been playing some really bad basketball lately, and I just don't trust them in this spot. Dallas is 20-9 on the road. They're no slouches away from home. And I know Brunson just tore a labrum in his shoulder, so he's going to be out for a while. Was it his shoulder, I believe? He tore a ligament. He's going to be out for a while, but he hasn't played in the last couple of weeks anyway. Miami, on the other hand, has been terrible lately. They've lost 4 or 5. They just lost at home to Minnesota, and Minnesota stinks. They choked a massive lead away against Cleveland in the game before that. Not in great form. Meanwhile, Dallas just won at San Antonio. And San Antonio, even though they've been pretty underwhelming this season, they have been very solid at home. They have been pretty solid at home. So I think Dallas is just in better form. Lean to the Mavericks. I think they could win that game outright. I wouldn't be surprised to see Doncic go for a big game. Can Miami win it easily? Of course, but based on how they've been playing lately, I have no faith in them. So I'll lean to Dallas on that one. Other than that, what else do I like? I'm going to lean to Milwaukee minus 11. I know that Oklahoma City's been really good so far this season, but they did play yesterday against Sacramento. Game was very close. They had to come from behind. They got a nice win, but they have a rest disadvantage. And Danilo Gallinari has already been announced that he will not be playing, and he is one of their leading scorers. So I expect Oklahoma City to struggle a bit against Milwaukee's elite-level defense now that one of their best scorers is not in the game. I still think Giannis is pretty much unguardable by anybody in OKC. They might try to put Adams to make a wall of some sort. I don't think it's really going to matter. I think Milwaukee should win that game pretty easily. Lean to Milwaukee on that one. Just the spot's not great, and for that reason alone, I'll lean to Milwaukee. Other than that, no thoughts on the Utah game. I don't want to touch Washington or Utah. Utah's been a disaster lately, so I'm going to pass on them. I think that's pretty much it for the NBA. Those are my thoughts on that one. Now looking at college basketball, what do I like here? I'm going to lean to the over 140 between Penn and Yale. Yale's been very solid offensively, and they have been really good at home this season, so I think they should be able to score around 75 to 80 points in this game. If you've looked at Yale's recent performances, they've put up at least 81 points in 3 of their last 4 games. I think they should be able to handle it. Plus, Yale should be very motivated to put in a good performance against Penn after losing on the road to Penn by 8 points in their last meeting. I think Yale should play a lot better offensively at home. I think this game could be closer than free throws at the end. I think that game should get into the mid-140s, so lean to the over on that one. Other than that, what else do I like? Really just not a great card. Friday nights are pretty underwhelming for college basketball usually because you just have the Ivy and the Horizon go at it, which are two, I'd say, pretty underwhelming conferences from top to bottom. Ivy occasionally is a team that wins a round in the tournament, but as a whole, conference is not exactly what I look forward to watching when I think of college basketball. But I know Dayton's playing against Davidson. Don't really have any thoughts on those, on that matchup. Davidson, I don't like because of how they screwed us over about a week ago or so. And Dayton, I have multiple futures on them, so I don't really care about the margin. I just care if they win. But I don't really have any thoughts on that. I will lean to Harvard minus the 8.5, though, against Columbia. Columbia is absolutely terrible. Columbia is 1-9 in conference play. They're 6-20 overall, and Harvard is 18-7, and they're currently in second place in the Ivy. I just think that they're the better overall team. I think this game should be close for a little while, but I think Harvard just has better athletes and a deeper roster. So lean to Harvard. The only person who can score on Columbia is Mike Smith, And if Smith has an off game, I just think that they are going to be in for a long afternoon. So for me, I'll lean to Harvard. I think they'll win that game by double digits. And those are my thoughts on that matchup. But it's pretty much it for college basketball. Looking at the NHL, I know the Rangers played yesterday, but I have to lean to New York on that one at around plus 140, plus 150, give or take. Rangers have been absolutely cooking. They've been the hottest team in all of hockey. I know Philadelphia has also been really good lately, so you could be a little bit concerned about going against another hot team. But the Rangers have just been absolutely cooking. And I'm an Islanders fan, and I know that they just choked away a late lead against the Blues and a 2-goal lead. They got a point in that one. But I have been paying attention to the Rangers, and they have been very impressive lately. So I have to give credit where credit is due. This team I thought was dead to rights, and they ended up coming back to life. And until the Rangers actually lose a couple, I will back them because I just think that they are in some profitable spots here. They were an underdog yesterday against Montreal. It made no sense. I had some personal money on it, and they ended up winning 5-2. I'll lean to the Rangers here. I just think that Philly should not be laying 160, and for that reason, I'll lean to the Rangers for value. Other than that, I'm going to lean to Colorado against Carolina. That game's more of a toss-up, but I do think that there is some value in Colorado. Colorado's won each of their last 4 games, and defensively they've been fantastic lately. Carolina's been good, but they're not in the playoff picture right now, and Colorado's the better overall team, so I'll lean to Colorado on that one. Plus, Colorado's been really good on the road, so I think that there is some value on the Avalanche there, so I'll lean to the Avalanche. Now, for tennis, I didn't give out any tennis leans yesterday because there were a lot of matches in flux, and I wasn't really sure what I gave out previously. But there was a throwing match this morning between Djokovic and Monfils. Monfils choked away 3 match points in the second set, and then Djokovic rolled in the third. I actually had money on 6-1 in the third set because Monfils ended up picking up a leg injury. Stay tuned for that moving forward. I wouldn't be surprised to see Monfils take a month off or so. He really ran out of gas, and he was getting absolutely no... he just had no push on his legs during the jump for his serve. He was pretty much serving flat-footed for about a set. Really wasn't a great look. I expect him to take some time off. Hopefully he won't miss the French Open or anything, but he definitely will not be at 100% in the immediate future. Looking at some matchups, though, Garin is a very interesting matchup against Seaboth. I know I was wrong about Seaboth against Londero, but Garin, even though he won 3 sets against Fokina in the first round, he did pick up an injury timeout in the second set, and he ended up losing that set 6-0. He ended up rallying to win the match, but as a whole, Garin has had some issues with some injury timeouts in recent tournaments. He's also played a ton of matches, so I'm a little bit concerned on whether or not he will start to deteriorate. I would have to lean to Seaboth for value, potentially Seaboth plus 1.5 sets, because I don't think Garin should be laying at this big of a price. He opened up at roughly minus 300. He's down all the way to minus 190. I think that there's some value with Seaboth here, and lean to Seaboth as a result. Other than that, I'll lean to the over between Isner and Fritz, and I'll also lean to Fritz in 3. Fritz, I just think is the better overall player. Isner has been playing well lately, but at the end of the day, we both know that he is not the greatest returner in the world, and I think Fritz does possess enough firepower to keep Isner off guard. The issue you have is that if Fritz is going to be going for too much, try to paint the corners and miss, could be some unforced errors, but at the end of the day, I just think that Fritz should not be a plus price here. He's available at plus 100 at some spots here. I would think he should be the favorite. Lean to Fritz on that one. And other than that, though, pretty much it for the tennis card. But the play today, once again, is going to be on the over 232.5 between the Magic and the Timberwolves, and that one is available on FanDuel at minus 110. That's going to be the installment of Scott's Selections here for Friday, February 28th. Good luck to all of you and your respective bets today. Bye, everyone.